Hi, welcome to Matematik. In our last geometry video, we learned some important things about angles. One of the things we learned was that angles come in different sizes. Some are big and some are small. Well, in this video, we're going to learn how we can tell exactly how big or small an angle is. We're going to learn how angles are measured. You probably already know a lot about measurement, like how you measure how long something is with a ruler or a tape measure. And the units you would use would be inches or centimeters or something like that, right? But when it comes to angles, we can't use a ruler to measure them or use units like centimeters. And that's because angles aren't about length. Angles are about rotation. And to measure how much something is rotated, we use a special unit called degrees. Now hold on a second. I thought degrees were used to measure how hot or cold something is. You know, like, it's 100 degrees outside today. Now that is a good point, you smart-looking fella. The word degree is used for a lot of different things, so it can be a little confusing sometimes. It makes more sense if you just think of a degree as a small amount of something. For temperature, a degree is a small amount of heat, but for angles, a degree is a small amount of rotation. And there's a special math symbol for degrees that we use instead of writing the word degrees over and over again. It's this little circle that you put after the number and up near the top. To see how we use degrees to measure angles, let's get two rays that point in exactly the same direction. Then let's put one ray directly on top of the other one so it looks like there's only one ray there, even though there's really two. Now let's take the ray on top and rotate it just a tiny amount counterclockwise. This point on the ray will be our axis or center of rotation. It's just like the point at the center of a clock that stays stationary while the hands rotate around it. Our rays now form an angle that measures 1 degree. And as you can see, 1 degree is a really small angle. We need to zoom in on it to see that it really is an angle. In fact, you might wonder if there could be any angles smaller than 1 degree. Yep, there sure are. And we saw one just a second ago. Before we rotated our top ray, when our rays were exactly on top of each other, that was a 0 degree angle. And there's a whole range of tiny fraction angles in between 0 and 1 degree. But we aren't going to learn about them in this video. Instead, we're going to keep on rotating our top ray and watch the angle get bigger and bigger. This special readout here will tell us how many degrees our angle measures. Now let's start out slow. 1 degree, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now let's hold it there for a second. So this is what 10 degrees looks like. 10 degrees? That's freezing! Huh. Guess you're not as smart as I thought after all. So we can see that a 10 degree angle is still a very small angle. So let's keep going, but a little bit faster this time. All right, that's 15 degrees, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45. Now 45 degrees is a special angle because it's exactly half of a right angle. If we draw a right angle in the same spot, you can see that our ray cuts it into 2 equal parts. So, if 45 degrees is half of a right angle, can you guess how many degrees a right angle is? Let's keep on rotating to see if you're right. 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. Yep, a right angle is exactly 90 degrees. And that is super important to memorize because right angles are used all the time in geometry. Okay, do you remember from our last video that all angles less than a right angle are called acute angles? So that means that all the angles we've seen so far that are between 0 and 90 degrees, like 10, 30, 45, 60, and so on, are acute angles. But if we keep on rotating our ray past 90 degrees, we'll start forming obtuse angles because they're greater than a right angle. Ready? Here we go. 100 degrees, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, and 180. Aha! Does this look familiar? Yep, it's a straight angle like we learned about in the last video. The rays point in exactly opposite directions, and the angle they form is 180 degrees. And that's also a really important angle measurement to memorize.